Hey everybody, Josh from Populi. Oh, just as I thought, perfect day for course evaluations. That's what we're talking today, setting them up, attaching them to courses, reporting on them, all the good stuff. Listen, I know it's not exactly normal, but we're gonna be calling these course evaluations Evals. It's a cool abbreviation, get used to it. But before we get to the rest of the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You'll get that little notifications bell, ding, ding, ding. Click that to get updates about videos posted to our channel so you don't miss anything and make Gabe sad. What is this? A socially expected behavior pattern usually determined by an individual's status in a particular society, because we're talking roles. You'll need the academic admin role in order to create course evals and then to attach them to particular course instances, and then the academic admin and the registrar roles will be able to view the reporting options once you've gotten the responses. Let's get an overview of course evaluations in Populi. Academic admins, first of all, design course evaluations, then they attach them to specific course instances, then they set the availability for those evaluations, and then finally they're able to review the results. Big caveat up front, Populi, as of this recording, is only able to attach a single course evaluation per course instance in a term. So if you have a final evaluation and a midterm evaluation, Populi can only accommodate one of those. You can get to course evaluations in Populi by going to Academics and then clicking on Course Evaluations, and then you'll see the course evaluations that you've already got created right there. And obviously over here on the right, you can click Add a Course Evaluation. We're gonna do that. We'll call this New, and then Save. We can also add headings and then text. These are elements that we can add to the evaluation to, mark out different sections and give explanatory text. And then this is cool, we can also add evaluation questions. Most of the options there are pretty straightforward, but a couple of them require a little bit of explanation. Number just gives you the option to request that students give a number rating basically. So it can be from 1 to 5, 1 to 10, 1 to 100, whatever you want to set there. And then the more complicated one is a Likert scale. If you've ever done any kind of survey, you've probably worked with a Likert scale before. For example, they give you a statement like the video was watchable, and then you choose from a sequence of potential answers like definitely agree, somewhat agree, neutral, somewhat disagree, definitely disagree. So we can fill in these fields here. We're going to put that statement up there, and then we'll fill these out. With those filled in, we can click to include an NA option there, and then we can choose whether or not we want to make the question required. You'll also see this statement option over here. We're going to go elsewhere to an already created version of this evaluation to have a look at that. We've got the heading, we've got some explanatory text, and then you can see what we're ending up here with on a Likert question. We've got the overall sort of heading of course material right there. And then we have the Likert scale across as columns. And then here we've got each row with a statement that's being evaluated by the Likert scale. If we click edit, you can see where those are input right here. So that's what we mean by statement. You're inputting statements that will then be evaluated. And then the question overall is just sort of the broader category that these various statements fit into. Let's also look down here where we have the applies to drop down. This question and any question can be set to apply to the course or to faculty. So the course is obviously considering questions about the course in general, and then the faculty question is going to be about the faculty in particular. So let's hop over and have a look at the way that a question that's set to apply to faculty will show up for students. So now we're looking at a question on a course with multiple faculty, and you can see that Populi automatically creates that question for first one faculty person and then for the other. So you set the question up to apply to faculty, and then it's going to break that question out for every faculty person listed there. We can also set things up so that Populi will automatically include teaching assistants on that evaluation as part of faculty as well. If we click into settings right here, it's the only setting you've got. So you can click yes there to include teaching assistants, and then there'll be one more faculty person that students will be evaluating. Back into that evaluation, I want to show one more thing here, which is that we can move these fields around just by clicking here. So let's move this explanatory text up below the heading there. Once we've got that set, we can go to preview right there, and then we can look at how everything looks. This is basically the way that it'll show up for students. Pretty straightforward there. Back over on the design tab, let's go down here and look at this option. We can embed another course evaluation. Now, what we said at the beginning is that you can only have one course evaluation attached to a course instance per term, and that's still true. Basically, what you're doing here is building a larger course evaluation out of smaller course evaluations. If you have some standard course evaluation elements that every course will use, and then you're going to have some custom things, you would just create all of those standard pieces as their own evaluations and then bring them into this evaluation as individual pieces. So let's click on that, and then we're going to add this course evaluation in and save, and then it tells us that that will be embedded there. And if we go to the preview, you'll see this is the evaluation that we added there. So you're basically just using kind of, Frankenstein monster pieces to make a larger course evaluation there. We can also clone an eval, as you can see here. Let's look at that on another template. On this example, you can see here that we don't have the option to edit this question. That's because this evaluation has been attached to a course instance and students have completed it. So once a student answers one of these questions, they can no longer be edited. Obviously, the idea there is students answer a question that says one thing, and then you change the question. Now you have responses that don't correlate to that initial question at all. So those get locked down once they've been answered. However, you don't want to start from scratch and create the evaluation all over again. That's where cloning comes in. If we clone this evaluation, give it a name here, and then click clone, now we're looking at the same evaluation, but you can see there we can edit those questions. So all you'd have to do is just go through, make whatever changes you want there, and then save, and now you've got a new evaluation that's based on the same questions that you had on that old evaluation. And of course, you can add additional questions whole cloth as well. Let's click over to that Courses tab. We're going to check our term, make sure we're looking at the term that we want to do this for, but then we're able to assign this evaluation here to any course that we check. So if I check just some of these at random here, and then down at the bottom, click attach to these courses, this evaluation will now be attached to those courses. You can see some of these options are not available. That's because they already have other evaluations attached to them. Okay, so we've got this evaluation designed and attached to courses, but we need to also control the availability. That potentially happens in two places. The main place that you would want to manage that is under Academics, Academic Term, under Info, and then down here, you can see there's a course evaluation availability. If we click Edit, we can enter a time when that availability window starts, then a time at which that availability window will end. We've also got fields for lock grades here. That is an optional setting. What it does is it prevents students from seeing their final grade on a course until they've actually completed the course evaluation. Once you've finalized the course and pushed the grade through, the students are not able to actually see that grade that they've ended up with in the course until they've either completed the course evaluation or the lock grades window has ended. It's good to think about how you want your availability window and the lock grades window to interact with each other. Obviously, if the grades are locked and the availability window has expired, then there's no way for students to take the evaluation and complete it and then get access to their grades. We also have the available to faculty options down here. You can choose to not make responses available to faculty, or you can make them available after 60% completion. That would be 60% of enrolled students have completed the evaluation, or after that 60% completion and then the course is finalized. So instructors would have to also have gone through and finalized all their grades and handed the course over. And then at that point, they would be able to see their evaluations. We have that 60% completion threshold there as part of an effort to help preserve the anonymity of those responses. Once those criteria are met, instructors will be able to go to their courses and then find responses under course evaluations. Now let's look at some of our reporting options. We'll do that by going to academics, and then course evaluations, and then reporting. This report here will default on the filter to just looking at the current term, but of course that can be changed to whatever term you want. And then you have other options like a range of terms or even choosing all terms. Look at that field for course evaluation there. We can use the drop down to select a specific evaluation like this undergraduate evaluation. Let's apply that filter. Now we're just looking at responses that have used that one eval template. If you look at questions apply to, that's where we can choose to look at questions that apply to both course and faculty, or just course or just faculty. Most of the rest of these fields are pretty self-explanatory, so we won't dig into every single one of them. But we do want to look at that field for breakdown by, because that's going to give us some options for how we divide up the data that we're looking at. Let's say that you use one eval for several courses and you've done that across several terms. The breakdown allows you to choose how you'd like to see those responses grouped. Do you want to see all evals for a specific term aggregated together with their responses, or do you want to see them broken out at the level of course by term? That'll make more sense when we look at it with this specific example. So we're going to look at a specific faculty person here, and then we're going to set the term to all. We're going to have the course evaluation set to all as well, and then we'll apply that filter. So now we have several different terms worth of data and then a couple of different evaluations set up there as well. This is every time this instructor was ever evaluated using any evaluation. But then on top of that, we can set the breakdown here to course and then apply that filter. Now that will give us the greatest level of detail we can get down to. That is broken down by course, by term, so we can see those responses broken up. We can also see them in two different evaluations. So we've got the example evaluation and the undergraduate evaluation there as well. But then we can also change that to term and then apply that filter again. Now we're going to be looking at these responses grouped by evaluation and term. So you can see here we've got the example evaluation in that 2021 fall term, but then down below we'll have an undergraduate evaluation, and that's every instance. So this could be across multiple courses for a single term. So this would be a way of checking up and seeing for a given term how a particular instructor performed according to their evaluations. Now you've gotten feedback, you know what those students think about that instructor. Click that like button, tell us what you think about us. Also, check us out on social media, you'll find the links in the description. I'm Josh for Populi, thanks for watching.